joining me via Skype is a lawyer, Liberos Oshoma. Liberos, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now, you saw what happened yesterday. There was supposed to be an Ashura procession. But before yesterday, there was a statement from the police asking the Shiites not to carry out this procession, saying that it will amount to what we call, perhaps what is called, the procession rather will amount to a act of terrorism. But then the Shiites came out to say that it is against their constitutional rights, since the facts, as a result of the fact that the issues surrounding their prescription is still being challenged in court. How would you analyze these issues?
Yeah, good morning and thank you. First and foremost, I agree that it is people's constitutional right to protest or to assemble lawfully. But if that assembly will endanger the lives of others, then the police also owes a duty to protect lives and properties. And then secondly, for an organization that had been prescribed, then the issue of a constitutional right to assemble, does not really, come in here. In fact, despite the fact that that prescription is challenged, there is no order staying the judgment or the order prescribing that association. Until that is done, constitutionally, they do not have a right as an organization to gather and assemble. Otherwise, that assembly will be deemed, like the police has said, as an assembly to carry out a terrorist act, because the organization had been tagged a terrorist organization. And so to that extent, what the Shai should do is to pursue vigorously the matter in court and ensure that the prescription of the organization is lifted or the order vacated.
Before now, Liberos, there has been issues of the way the federal government and security agencies have handled the run-ins with the Shiite group IMN. So moving forward now with the way things are going, how would you want both sides to handle this case properly?
Yeah, first and foremost, my call will be on the police. The Nigerian police, I think it is high time they should also learn and be trained to be professional in their conduct, especially in dealing with, fellow Nigerians, human beings, irrespective of whether the association are proscribed or not. The members are still Nigerians, and so in dispersing them, in enforcing the right of others to protection, I think professionalism should be exhibited. And then to the members of the Shai, all the issues and dust raised by the health of their leader, El Zazaki. We've seen that even El Zazaki had said that he felt better, in Nigeria, under custody, and he was treated like a king than when he went for a medical trip in India. And so to that extent, I think they also should exercise caution and restraint in handling the affairs of the activities, so as not to be seen by others, even people who are sympathetic to their cause, as indeed a terrorist organization. Because if your action, whether to peacefully assemble or not, terrorizes, the freedom to move of other people, then to some extent, even people who want to be sympathetic to you might now begin to see you as an organization that endangers the life of others.
All right, Liberos.
To that extent, restraint should be exercised.
We have to leave it at this point. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
My pleasure always.
All right, we've been speaking with Liberos Oshoma on the Ashura procession that held yesterday.
Lawyer Liberos Oshoma to give us insight into this. Liberos, it's good to have you join us right now. Good morning. Now,
good morning,
if we have to narrow it down to Abuja as to what happened yesterday, the IMN movement gathered, but it seemed to be in a hurry, and then they dispersed not long from the reports we got. Would it be seen as being conscious of what the police would do or the security agencies would do?
Yes, I agree with you that they also probably had been advised by their legal department that, since the matter is pending in court, that it is appropriate for all parties to maintain status quo. By maintaining status quo is all parties to sheathe their sword. And so even if there is going to be any gathering, it should not be done in a manner that will further anger or incur the wrath of law enforcement agencies. And so I think it was to that extent that they had to do the procession, not in their usual way, but hush-hush. Because...
Yes, if we have to see from that window, they have advisors who also understand the law and understand the implication of things. But from the eyes of the security agents who know that there's a prescription order on ground, which is given by a competent court of jurisdiction, and they have appealed, but they have to stay action until the outcome of maybe a higher court, as the case may be.
Mike, as it stands,
okay, go ahead.
As it stands, really, that order subsists, and it is for the court to enforce that order until set aside. Despite the fact that he's been appealed, there is no contrary order by a superior court asking the police to stay at the execution of that court of first instance order until a contrary order is given. So what is subsisting now is the fact that the IMN has been prescribed, and so until that order is set aside, the police owes it a duty to enforce that order given by a court of competent jurisdiction. And so it is that order that the police yesterday, enforced by ensuring that the group is not allowed to gather, because the intention is that if allowed to gather, since they've been pronounced a terrorist organization, if allowed to gather, that they might, these are debatable though, that they might also, carry out terrorist activities. And I also want, like I said earlier, I also want to, say that I think the group, advisors probably would have advised them that they should go about their gathering in a very lawful manner, and not the usual unlawful ways of throwing stones and, chanting anti-government songs to provoke, security agencies. And so I think that was what transpired.
Now, Liberals, what do you make of, we didn't hear of any face-off and violence as we used to hear in the past, especially from yesterday. But the IMN has said that the police killed 12 of its members. What do you make of this claim?
Yeah, first and foremost, I wouldn't subscribe to this police sweeping claim that they carry out their activities in a very lawful manner. And so to that extent, irrespective of the claim made by the IMN, should be swept under the carpet. No. And that's why I've consistently asked, we should have, agencies that police our police. So in the event where activities are carried out unlawfully by the police, there should be an agency that should be able to investigate such activities and bring them to book. And so to that extent, those claims should be properly investigated. And if actually, such acts did happen, the law should take its course. And then secondly, I think with the revelation of the leader of the IMN, Ayaz Azaki, that he was not as ill as was claimed by its members. So that also encouraged some members not to, be as unruly as it was before, when the man was not even seen in public.
Okay.
I think that his trip to India also further, helped to douse the tension.
Right.
Because a lot of people saw, him, that he was not as sick as was alleged. So that also probably helped douse the tension. And the fact that, now there is currently no subsisting order of the court, that had been disobeyed in as far as Azaki is concerned.
All right.
So
Thank you.
Those had
thank you so much, Libros Oshoma, for your insight into this. Thank you.
Joining me now via Skype is a lawyer, Liberos Oshoma. Thank you, Liberos, for joining us on TVC Breakfast. And now, the IMN claims that 12 of its members were killed. But then the security operatives is yet to respond to this accusation. But then some have argued that perhaps this might be piling up cases that might lead to another protest by the group.
The security forces have responded to that allegation that they carried out their duties lawfully without harassment or intimidation, and that no member was killed. That force was far from the truth. But be that as it may, like I said earlier, these are not issues we should just be allowed to sweep under the carpet. There should be, for the fact that the security operative has issued a one-line disclaimer, does not mean that the government should just, go to sleep with it. There's need to further investigate those allegations to forestall a situation where there will be a breakdown of law and order, because whether the group is proscribed or not, the government also should understand by now that this group is not, these are people who believe in their cause, and the religion, Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, like we all know, it's a very strong weapon that had been used consistently, to galvanize the masses, and then in some cases to even cause mayhem. And so, to that extent, government should look seriously into that, to ensure that they don't use that
brings
as a
me, Liberous, to my next
protest.
question, where looking at how government handles this issue, because some have argued that not all Shiites are members of the IMN, and so in curtailing their activities, how should the government go about, especially those who are seemingly not part of the group, not being able to carry out perhaps their constitutional rights?
Yeah, I also read the police statement to that effect, that it is only members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria that are proscribed and banned from protesting, that other Shiite members can protest. The question one would ask is, how do you determine who is a member of the Islamic Movement and who is not a member of the Islamic Movement? If some other Shiite members decide to protest, or decide to proceed on a procession, how do you determine if these ones are not, IMN or they're just shy? So that statement, first and foremost, is one that will be very difficult for the police to determine. It's like saying this group is banned, but they are not banned, and that So that's why we need to be very technical and forensic in dealing with this issue. It is not enough for government to go to court, get a court order that the group had been banned. Then also, government need to also put effort in place to forestall, a situation where whether politicians or leaders would consistently use religion as a weapon or as a yardstick, to either cause mayhem or to challenge authority.
Liberals, I want to quickly pick on something you said, because the courts is said to be the last hope of the common man. Are you saying that the courts cannot deal with this issue?
No, I'm not saying the court can't deal with it. But you find out that it is not every matter, most especially when it has to do with religion and politics sometimes, that the courts, will be seized of all the facts, the underbelly of the issues. And so the courts, in dealing with the issues, we deal with the surface. But meanwhile, we all know that, deep down in this is a struggle, an international, that gain international dimension, a fight for supremacy between, two countries and, some sects dominant in Iran and, Saudi Arabia. And so all of these are no matters the court can deal with. And so the government also should be sensitive to those issues so that, it will not snowball into a bigger problem. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. As for the issue that the court is currently dealing with is the proscription of the organization. And outside that, the court really cannot go into the underbelly of the issues as they come up, especially now that the members are alleged that some of their members were killed. And so those are not facts before the court. And then that also should be investigated. Investigating that, how can the government proceed from here in terms of human rights, you know, enforcing the human rights of some of these members who are not shite,
which are very important issues, Liberals.
Very, very important and fundamental.
Liberals, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.